Hello, my name is Sergio Del Amo. I am gonna talk to you today about Micronaut default environment. I have here a Micronaut application. It has a main class, is application.java, which you will have in your project if you generated the project either using the Micronaut CLI or Micronaut Launch. It runs a static method in the Micronaut class called Micronaut run, and that will essentially start my application. I have in this application one controller is gonna respond in the root of my application. It's a class annotated with add controller. You see no value for the add controller annotation, and it has one method annotated with add get, so it will expose a get endpoint in the root of my application. I am using constructor injection to inject the application context, and inside the index method I am returning a map whose key is environments, and the value of the for that key is the names of my active environment, so that will be like a set of strings. Micronaut by default assumes that you want to talk JSON, and thus is going to take this map of a string and set strings as value and serialize it into a JSON object. So if I go here to my application class and I run it, the application is going to start import localhost 8080, and I will be able to go here in curl and do like a localhost 8080 get request, and you see that right now by default Micronaut will have no default environment, and thus we receive an empty array. If I come here to Micronaut application, I can actually do like this, and instead of running Micronaut run, I can come here and do Micronaut build, and this will give me like a Fluid API to start my application and configure it a little bit. So what I'm doing here, and I'm specifying the default environment. I'm specifying here with the dev environment, which I have defined here in this environment class that is part of Micronaut context. So if I now run my app again, we will see here first in the console that the app is starting in the dev environment. So you see here establish active environments dev right here. And if I come here to curl and I do a curl localhost, you see that we have the dev environment. So this is one way of defining a default environment. So a default environment is one environment that will be selected for you when no other environments is detected. Micronaut has in Micronaut 2 and Micronaut 3 and Micronaut 1 has the concept of environment detection. So when you take your Micronaut application and you distribute it to AWS Cloud, to Azure, to Oracle Cloud, to GCP, we will attempt to detect that you have deployed your application in a cloud and give you automatically some environments. Environment detection is off by default in Micronaut 4, and when you have it off, it's important that you essentially set the environments that you want to use in production explicitly. I will show you another video about that change in Micronaut 4, but essentially for the video what I wanted to show you is how to define a default environment, which is particularly useful in development mode. So I show you one way, which is using the Fluid API of Micronaut. Another way, and this is the recommended way, is to use ContextConfigurer. ContextConfigurer is a feature that was introduced in Micronaut when we released Micronaut AOT, Micronaut ahead of time build optimization module, and this allows you to configure the application context that the application is going to use to run in a way that is visible to Micronaut AOT. And here do a context configurer. So I essentially created this. So I'm running the application as I was typically doing with run, and now I am creating a static class here annotated with that context configurer, which implements application context configurer, and here I'm setting the default environment. So it's exactly the same as I was doing before with the Fluid API, but in a way that is visible to AOT. So if you are, especially if you are using AOT, please use this way of configuring the application context builder. But if you are not using AOT, you could use the other one way, and that will be fine. So the application is still running in the dev environment. So those are the two ways of defining a default environment in Micronaut, either using the Micronaut.build Fluid API or using a context configurer. What can you do once you have a dev environment in your application? What I typically do is I come here and I create an application dev.properties if you were using properties configuration, application dev dash dev.yaml if you were using YAML configuration, and here do configuration for my local development. And what I typically like to do is git ignore this file, so I will come here to git ignore and git ignore application dev properties file. So that is not included by default. And that way you can have each developer configure their local development environment seamlessly without impacting the other developers in the project. So hopefully you enjoy this video. Keep watching for more, and thanks for watching. Thank you.